much tension does this need?
That's what it is. But what it is like, let's get the tension over now so that later on people can just buy.
And sometimes those 8 players you better be ready for because they're going to be a whirlwind.
The person on the line must have asked who's at the door. They said, oh, it's just the service tech. And that struck a nerve inside of me when he called me just the service tech.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Plumbing and HVAC Hustle podcast. And today I have 3 amazing guests. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves for the audience.
I'm Joe Crisera, America's Service Coach.
I'm Victor Rancour, everybody's favorite influencer.
And I'm Dustin Van Orman, coming here from Utah at Any Hour Services.
Absolutely. So I just want to talk a little bit about recruiting and retaining star employees and the way you guys think about getting high performers. So I guess I should start with a foundational question, which is, do you believe in star employees? And how do you think of high performers in companies? Yeah, I'm gonna let that go.
I'll take that over, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
right? There's the star players, right? And sometimes star players sound good, right? But do they fit the mold? Do they fit the culture? Because everybody's had a great player, a great sales guy. He comes in and we're excited, right? You get excited when you come in and you find out really quickly that he only cares about me. Sometimes I would rather have a couple guys that are really good rather than one great guy, if that makes sense. Because that great guy, sometimes you got to check their attitude and make sure they fit the culture. But if they fit the culture, they can bring everybody up. But just be prepared. If you bring a guy in like that, like you got to know how to reel him in, how to deal with him. I think that's also part of the art of being an operator is understanding how to deal with different personalities. And sometimes those 8 players you better be ready for because they're going to be a whirlwind. But I'll let Joe take that over.
Well, I think I don't really believe in bringing in star employees, but I do believe in creating stars, not being one, right? And I think the strongest thing is when you get somebody who is just an ordinary person, and through the possible training, support, and everything else that you do, you are building that person into a star, right? It was one of my mentors from John Wayne Air, Don Rackler, who ran John Wayne Air in San Antonio. He said, I don't have any room for divas or prima donnas. They won't be on my team. Everybody serves the team. So if you're going to be a star helps to coach the other team, that they're the kind of leader that not just performs great results, which is a star performer, but somebody who also helps support the team and helps teach people the things that he knows. To me, that's a better star to me.
So you mentioned you don't believe in star employees. So I guess maybe a continuance of this is like finding the right stuff, the right constitution in a great employee. Like, how do you look for a person that's moldable and could turn into somebody great?
I think you're looking for a combination of what everyone's said here. Victor's saying that you're going to find these people and bring them in, and they're maybe a little more challenging to handle. They take a little more care and love. You're talking about growing them from within, and I think it's a combo of both. You need to create an environment where star performers are created and can find success in your business through your training programs, through your management support, through just a simple thing as having a one-on-one with your everyone in your business each week so that they feel appreciated and valued. People that feel appreciated want to perform well in your business. And so you can create an environment where star performers are found in your business. You probably have them already, and they just need that support to become one.
That's a good segue into the retaining great people. So,
First off, I think a great system also can create star employees too. Right? If you don't have a sales process or sales system or whatever it is within your business, you're not going to be able to grow and get those guys, keep those guys going, keep more guys coming up, right? You should be able to take a decent player and put him in your system and turn him into an A player as well. That's kind of what I believe.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing, for instance, that I have an issue with is like people present themselves a certain way in an interview, and then you get 2 months down the road and they're just doing things a little differently than what they showed in those initial conversations. So how do you filter bullshit in an interview?
I think the best thing I would say on that is you give the people the opportunity to reveal themselves, right? if somebody says, yeah, so my first question a lot of times is like, why would you need a new job? What's wrong with the one you currently have? Or what was wrong with the last place? And what happened at the last place? Was something wrong there? And you're giving them an opportunity to take responsibility for themselves and say, well, what I'd love to hear would be, yeah, it was a good place where I was working. I just think I was ready for what they were trying to do. It's really more on me. I found myself in the wrong place. I needed to find a place that believed more like in a service business than a construction business. Like, I don't think I fit in because I'm really not good with construction. I'm better with people. So that's more of a responsibility I'm hearing within the employee. So I try to give people the opportunity to respond with the values that they really believe in, to show the true colors, right? And you got to listen. So you got to be a good listener in those interviews. And I think when you give people the opportunity, they sometimes spit it out. Like, hey, what happened at the last place? Why didn't that work out? Well, my boss was a raging maniac, and nobody could work for that guy.
Yeah.
And if that's what you're hearing, then you're hearing the victimization already of that. They're already acting like a victim before they even start working for you, right?
Well, unless it was me there.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe they work for Victor.
But I would say this though. Even if they were, there's an element in all of us that says, even if I'm working for somebody who is a little bit out there, it's like, you know what, you could say for yourself, I just wasn't ready for that level of intensity. A guy like Victor demands, he demands, he's a perfectionist who demands perfection. I just wasn't ready for that level of perfection at that point. I'm looking for somebody who takes, even with somebody who feels like the boss is a little bit out of control, to say, what's your part of it? I say, okay, the boss, and if they did say my boss is out of control, I would say, okay, maybe the boss was out of control, but what was your part of that? Is there any part that you played? And if they say, no, there's nothing I could have done, that's what they're going to get when they bring to your company. That's what I feel about it. But
same question for you, Victor. How do you filter bullshit in an interview? I think this is a good one. I want to hear your answer too.
Yeah, I'm sure Dustin's going to have a different answer than I do, right? Obviously, track record, right? Like, I got to see the numbers, right? If I got a sales guy coming in and they can't show me the numbers, or being a sales guy in the first time, I will make them go through their process with me. So, like, I would interview the sales guys that have to go through a manager. After you got to the manager and say, hey, Vic, this guy's good, I would actually make him present to me how he would present to a customer. Mm-hmm. I want to see his eyes, his tonality, how he speaks, how he communicates. Does he understand his products? Because you're going to be able to snuff out a sales guy pretty quickly if he's any good, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me, I put him on the spot pretty quick, pretty early, even the technicians as well. I put them on the spot and test them right in front of them, because that's my background, is being a tech and a sales guy. I can tell right away if they are real or not. Keep in mind, it's not an end-all, be-all, because I feel like I can train a guy. If he has decent communication skills, I can turn him into a great sales guy. But I do make them actually do their process in front of me. I say, perfect, how would you sell a variable speed system to me? Can you show me how you do it?
He does is he teaches the most valuable team in your business. He'll just add nothing but profit.
There's so much money left in the call center. So much money. If you're not at a 90% booking rate, showing empathy on the phone, smiling on the phone, making sure they're having a better day after they got off the phone with you, then you need to call Power Selling Pros and see Brady.
If they can't do it right there, they're not going to be able to do it in front of a customer, and I probably don't need them anyways.
I think what you want to do also is don't just bring somebody in for an interview, bring them in for an experience. Anytime anyone comes to our facility to try and get a job there, they're going to go on a tour with us for an hour. We're going to walk them around and show them what it's like to work there, let them see the energy with the people and the trainings and the facility, the benefits that are there. But while we're walking around with them, we're breaking down barriers. We're making them more comfortable. We're getting to see how they interact in a group. We're asking them questions in front of people. And then after an experience, we'll take them and sit down for an interview. But by then, you've broken down barriers and you've seen who that person really is. You have a pretty good idea of what they're going to be like, after that's happened. So
kind of a follow-up on that question.
It's already midnight. You've already had 3 sandwiches. That went dating hour for, like, we're going to go for a breakfast. I'm going to check it out. But 8 hours later, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm working here now.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
What about for jobs where you don't necessarily have that expertise? I can see that in a job where you know how to do that thing. I've had to hire people that I didn't know how to do the thing, and that's always the scariest. How do you do that? Like, let's say if you're a a HVAC or plumbing business owner and you're trying to hire an internal marketer, but you don't know how to do marketing.
First and foremost, hire for character, because you got to work with this person. So you got to make sure that they got the same standards and character that you do represent in your business, that your people have, because it's going to affect your culture. If you find good alignment that way, then obviously if it's something you're not experienced in, you're going to have to understand their expertise, understand their history, check references, whatever you need to learn that they're qualified enough to do it. But first and foremost is that character. Who are they?
I think one real quick one, I'll get right. So the quick one, like one thing I did, so I worked with Leland Smith. Like the best thing he ever did, like he didn't hire fast. Like it was like I had to earn this damn job, right? I remember going through it. I went through a group interview. There was 100 of us in a room. They narrowed it down to 15, and they said, okay, we'll give you guys a call. Waited a couple days, called us, brought us back for another interview, then sat me in front of a panel, in front of every manager shooting questions at me, right? They were just testing me to see how I would respond, right? And they get done with that, said, okay, we'll give you a call back and let you know. I had to come back a third time. Then the next thing I'm meeting with the owner. And so I went through this like big thing. So I think with that process, it also made me feel like I won. Like I won the lotto getting this job. Like fuck, dude, I went through the gauntlet. I got the thing, right? So it actually got me more excited about working there as well. So that's something you can think about as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think with the panel to have other, especially women in the company, interview the person, see if that's the kind of person that they're going to appeal to everybody, not just the guy or just the woman, and other people, a range of people that could interview, right? But I would say one thing you can do with jobs that you don't know how to do is say, well, if I don't know how to do an advertisement, like a marketing site, say, well, I believe in job testing. So like similar to Victor is saying, like he takes them for a test drive with the, go ahead and sell a job to me. Well, if I'm doing advertising or marketing, I would say, well, I'm going to give you $50 tonight and go home.
He's my buddy's about to go on stage right now.
All good. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Scoot it in. Sorry, dude.
I would say.
Then there were two.
I would say if you're going to consider a marketing position is a pretty big position.
Yeah.
I may not know how to do it, but I know what it looks like when I see a professional do it. And so I would say something like, why don't I give you $250 to go home tonight, and here's a normal furnace tune-up, everything we do in a furnace tune-up. Here's the benefits of getting it. You go ahead and make an ad for us, or go ahead and develop a campaign based on this with our community. If you could do something for us, come back tomorrow or 2 days from now. Today's Tuesday. You come back on Friday. Go ahead and present what this is going to look like to us. I'll pay you $500 or whatever for that. To do that, it'd be well worth the $500 now than hiring somebody for $80,000 who's the marketer, who doesn't know how to use graphics or can't find is not going to send the right message type of thing. Here's our company culture. Here's the tune-up. Go back and design. So I really believe in job testing.
Yeah.
A customer service rep, I don't do customer service. Here's a script. Here's get your telephone, follow the script, and come back 2 days later at our final interview and be able to read that script and enter stuff in a computer at the same. We're gonna have a laptop and you're gonna enter it in while we're doing it. Now, I don't do that, but I'll be the customer and you're gonna enter it in. So I'm gonna job test you. I'll give you, when you come back and you go on the job test, I'll give you $50 to pass that, to go on that test and pass that test. Whether you pass or not, you're going to get $50 to come back. Because now you're a finalist. Before I take somebody on a job, I like to see if I get an example because one of the biggest things like customer service, people can answer the phone and follow the script, but they may not be able to do that at the same time that they type stuff in. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that I had one time a woman who worked at Motorola as the head of customer service for all of Motorola Mobile. And she happened to say, I'm retiring, so I want to work at a normal company now. Mm-hmm. I hired her, and she simply could not enter at the same time she talked on the phone. And she was the head of the whole Motorola customer service division. I'm like, wow. We just paid somebody a premium amount of money at the time, and they couldn't even do this skill. And then I said, sorry, Betty, we're going to have to part as friends.
Yeah.
I said, after about 2 weeks, I'm like, you have to be able to do this. I just can't do it. I get to put it on Post-it notes. I'm like, that's not how we do it here. We go right into the computer. And so I realized that from that point forward, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm not going to just take somebody's word for it. An expert guy does furnace tune-ups. Okay, come out in the warehouse. Here's the furnace we have here. Take it all apart and disassemble it and put it on the ground and come and get me. I'm going to give you $50 to do this right now. And then you're going to reassemble it and then start it up and run it. And it's going for $50, I want you to go ahead and do this right now. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I don't have the tools. Well, here's a toolbox right here. Right now, you got something else to do? And it's like, no, I'm not, well, I didn't say I could do it. Oh, I thought you were an expert, So you kind of break it down like that, right? And I think like Victor's got the right idea, which is that the job testing, because any element of the job that can be tested to see the skill, they're claiming this skill, are they matching up with what they're claiming? Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah, totally. I wanted to ask a little bit about.
I think it goes back to Dustin with the character, because the person saying they have proficiency, and then they show you with their actions that they don't. Well, then I think you got your answer there, whether you got the right type of thing.
A very common one I've found is they can do high level stuff, but they can't do busy work. Like I hired you for the future for this cool, like maybe managing people or maybe doing something a little bit more fun. Maybe you'll get to do that in the future, but first we need you to do all this menial work, the basic stuff, and then not wanting to be a couple months in and being like, I want to be out of this basic stuff. It might be a high performer thing to want to get elevated, but you have to do the basics right as well, right? I know Dustin's thing is on fundamentals and getting the fundamentals right. I know that you were talking to me about that when we were talking about a podcast. What's one fundamental that you want your people to study?
Be more specific. Fundamental.
Yeah, you're talking about kind of the fundamentals of running an HVAC business, for instance. I was just kind of curious. I've had it in my head since we talked. I was kind of curious what you were referring to and how you want your people to grow in those ways.
Well, that's a really good question. You could go so many different directions.
Yeah.
I mean, I travel all over the country and see a lot of businesses, and so I get to see areas where I see that they're struggling and where they're successful. And both of those areas, whether it's success or failure and struggles, goes back to leadership development. Joe and I were talking about leadership development earlier and how important that is in your business. And let me make a point here with Victor. We were talking about him a minute ago. He's a high producer in the industry. And he even will admit that he might be challenging to handle. And it's a well-known fact that the number one reason that people leave a business, you're talking about retention, is their relationship with their direct manager. Now, I can tell you from experience, Joe, maybe you can relate to this, that oftentimes managers might have one of their team give notice, and then they report back to the boss, hey, so-and-so decided to quit, and I'm kind of glad they're leaving because they're really hard to manage. Heard that before, right? When oftentimes the hardest people to manage are some of the best producers, and they are being mismanaged, if that makes sense. And so if I was to pick one fundamental that I think would help all businesses to be successful and better off, it's leadership development. Making sure that the people that are running the programs in your business and affecting the culture have the support and tools they need to be effective. A lot of times a manager is not willing to work through that challenging relationship because they're not sure how. And so it's just easier to let that person go when if they just found the ability and the desire to work with that person, they could probably manage through that and have that top producer still in the business. So I think leadership development is key to the success of all businesses.
And directly relating to retention, right? We're talking about retention. I would love if you guys have any stories of like what you went through, because I know that I went through a period where I didn't understand the importance of culture in my business. I had people leaving, and then I had to kind of expand my idea. I mean, I started as, I guess, a high producer in the previous company that I worked for, and then when I went out on my own, I was still pig-headed. You know what I mean? Like those first couple of years, I was just like, it's all about the work and get into the work. And then I had to soften and learn some things about culture and leadership. And I was just curious if you guys went through any transformations in your personal life.
I got a good story.
Yeah.
I have, when I first started doing on-the-road consulting, about 2014, I think it was. 2004 when I started doing that. I had a person call me from Calgary, Alberta, up in Canada. He goes, Joe, I see your stuff that you're doing online and stuff like that, and I really think I need you here because I just can't get my guys motivated to do training. They just won't do the training. And I said, well, let me come up and see what we can do. I said, maybe it's the message, maybe it's the method. I don't know. I'll have to come and take a look. So I came up there, and there was 25 people in the room, And the leader was with me in the room. He says, "This is Joe Crisera. He's from the United States. He's going to go over some training with us on how we can communicate and connect with our clients." So all I was going to try and do is learn how to connect with your clients and learn how to make a friend with your client. That's all I was going to try and do for half a day, right? For 4 hours from 8 o'clock to 12 noon. I did it. I started training it and talked about the science of connecting and science of praising the effort and all that kind of stuff. Well, the owner gets up in about 20 minutes into the meeting, and he goes, "Hey, Joe, I got a meeting with an insurance guy. I got to go attend to that." And he leaves the meeting. And I keep going on. I'm teaching for about another 10 minutes, and all of a sudden, the sales manager goes, "Hey, I got a thing I got to take care of, too." He takes care. Then the service manager, something I got to do. I forgot to order these parts. Next thing you know, the sales guy goes, I got a customer who's calling me right now. By 11 o'clock, I had 2 people in that room still, right? And I went back at lunch. I said, at lunch with the owner, he said, "Hey, let's go out for lunch." Out to lunch, and he goes, "Well, what do you think? Yeah, they were really engaged when you were talking." I said, "Yeah, for about the first 10 minutes. But I said, you didn't see something when you left that happened." He goes, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I took a picture with my phone about who was left in the room by 11 o'clock. I had 2 people." I said, he goes, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. My people aren't committed to the training." And I said, "Well, who was the first person who left the room in the training?" He goes, "I don't know. Who was it, David?" I can't remember. Was it the sales manager? Or was it John, the salesman? I said, "No, it was you, the owner. You don't remember that?" He goes, oh my God, it was me." And he was blindsided. It was something he was doing. He normalized a dysfunctional behavior to the point where he didn't even realize that he was doing this, right? And I'm like, "So how many meetings have you left?" He goes, "Joe, every single time I start a meeting, I start out and I announce everybody, and then I leave because I feel I'm going to bother them or whatever." I said, "When you leave, all the other managers are now have less. If you're not going to be at the meeting, then don't be at the meeting. If you're going to be at the meeting, you got to be committed to that meeting. That's what you're going to do. You got to stay with that meeting." I said, "Let's try it different tomorrow." Next day, we did another meeting, how to do the science of pricing. I'll be happy to tell you that the owner stayed with the entire meeting, and he even took notes and started paying attention at the very front of the class. And guess how many people we had at the end of the meeting? 25 people at the end
incredible.
of the meeting. So
I feel a little conviction you saying that. It's setting the idea to set a better example. I like it.
It's like leaders they have a blind spot usually in themselves that it's like, why aren't my people doing this? Why aren't they following me? It's like, well, be worthy of somebody to follow is a good example. By your actions, not by just what you're saying, I think.
You got any stories about like culture, like experiences that you went through that kind of made you the leader you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. The one that came to mind first, I'll share with you. So I started doing heating and air conditioning back in the year 2000. It's been a long time, and I was moving up in this business. I was to a point where I was helping to manage. I was bidding all the plans. I was doing sales appointments. I mean, this is 23 years ago, a long time. And I remember one day I knocked on a customer's door, and they answered the door, and they were on the phone, and the person on the line must have asked who's at the door. They said, "Oh, it's just the service tech." And that struck a nerve inside of me when he called me just the service tech. And I actually quit my job that week because I was more than just a service tech. Right? That's how big of an impact it had on my life. And I went on a personal journey of discovery, and I did a lot of different things in business, and only to come full circle and to realize the power of being just a service tech. And so in your business, whoever's listening to this, it's there's so much power in the vehicle of being just a service tech, and creating a culture and an environment as owners and operators in your business where people know how valuable the training that they have is. I mean, look at the world we're in today. The positions we have are not going to be replaced. We're strong through recessions. We're strong through whatever gets thrown at us. People are always going to need us. You look at the COVID coming into the world and how that affected everything. We grew like crazy through that. Why? Because people need us. We're in such a powerful career opportunity here. But for me, when I realized how valuable being just a service tech was profound. And so in your businesses, make sure that you teach your people that they're in a valuable trade with significant opportunity where they can really provide for their family. This is a great place to be.
I would love it if you guys could share if you have any books that have been useful. Like we were talking about leadership and culture. If you have any books related to those two topics that you like to recommend to people.
There's all sorts of books. I'm going to spout out 3 really quick that are 3 of my favorites.
Yeah.
Good to Great.
Good.
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes, sir.
7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Awesome. Classics.
Well, you took 2 of the 3 from me, but that's really good. No, actually, there's a really good one I did read recently. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last.
Oh yeah.
It's a really good book. I think it's a good book, not just on leadership, but also on building a culture. Where basically the summary of the book is that when the team wins, the leader stands behind the team as a proud leader, but when the team loses, the leader stands in front of the team and takes responsibility and say, that's on me. So that's really what I think the character of a true leader is, somebody who doesn't look for other people to blame. They look inside themselves and say, what did I do that I fell short? What could I have done better to make sure my team? So before you start asking your team what they can do better, why don't you ask yourself what you could do better to either train the person, you have coached the person to get back on track. Maybe you let them stay on the team too long because they just weren't right for the team, but you allowed that on the team, or you didn't elevate somebody sooner that you could have elevated. That maybe that person's got more power than we think they do. So we have to examine. I think the ability of leaders to examine themselves and to evaluate themselves is really to me the key to leadership. Is that if you're not willing to take a step back and say, okay, this guy drove the truck off the road and flipped the van or whatever. What could I have done to take responsibility to see that soon? That kind of thing doesn't just happen. There's the writing's on the wall, I always say, right? It was like later on when hindsight's 20/20, isn't it, Dustin? Sure is. Where it's like, yeah, I should have known. How many times do leaders say, "Yep, you know what? What do you think was going to happen?" Right? Or yeah, I think we all knew this was inevitable, or whatever kind of thing, right? Because we willingly had sometimes it's a blind spot, but sometimes it's a willing blind spot because we know that if we had to do something, that it would make us do a little bit more effort to serve the team. And I think a lot of times leaders, the biggest thing that they can do is make the effort to serve the team, right? To serve the team, not to lead the team and say, follow me. But when you serve the team, you become somebody who's worthy of leading, as I always say. Make sense? Absolutely.
I've got a special segment here. I'm going to let you guys think about this if we need to take a break for a second. It's called Hot Takes and Cold Trends. And the 2 questions are, what's a hot take or something controversial that you believe would be controversial when you tell people about it, an opinion that you have? And then the other one is cold trends. What's something people are wasting time, money, and effort on that they shouldn't? Mm-hmm. And we can take a second if you want to think of those.
I got it.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
I think a hot take for me, one of our hot takes, is I believe that without friction, there is no traction when it comes to both with employees and just everybody that people that we're trying to see who are committed to what we're trying to do. In a way, we have to create friction to make sure people are committed. So in a way, I always say it like this. If somebody says to me, Joe, tell me how much does your service cost? They might ask me, how much does it cost to hire a service MVP? And I would say, we have to stop right there. I'm going to create now here's a little friction I would create. I'd say, I wouldn't invest in service MVP if I were you, unless you were committed to training, because that's our number one thing we do. And the time it takes to train people is something you have to be committed to block off the schedule to do that. So if you're not committed to that, I wouldn't even look into the price. And they go, no, I'm committed to that. See, now voluntarily the person has committed, and that is called a voluntary commitment is much better than a coerced commitment, right? Where I ask them, well, would you be willing to invest money in this? That would be the wrong way, I would say. I would say, I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking about time, because time is the biggest commitment that all of us have. That's how I say, if you're not willing to commit to the time to this, it may not work. And it's like that automatically puts the objection to the person that you're talking about. And so I think that's one of the things I believe that is controversial. So if a customer says, like, if I say I want to sell air quality on a normal maintenance call, if I'm a service tech, I would say I need to create friction before I get traction on this. Hey Janet, how important is air quality? How important is your family's health? And what do you think they would say to that? What would you say if I said, how important is your family's health?
Pretty important to us.
Yeah, I notice a problem we have right now. There's no air quality system. Why did you guys choose not to get that? Did you choose? How come you didn't get that?
I like that. I don't know. I wasn't really thinking about it.
See, well,
that does feel like a little bit of tension.
And it's like a little traction, a little friction.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, that's okay. I don't want to bother you with it. Sounds like you don't care about that then.
Yeah.
So how important is health? Really important. Why don't you have an air quality system? What's the reason why you don't? Why did you choose not to get that? I didn't choose it. I just wasn't there.
It's before I had a baby.
It's like, okay, well, maybe we should just shut up. I didn't mean to create more friction.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just shut up. I don't mean to keep talking. I'm not going to talk about it then. If you're not interested, let's not talk about it. And you're like, well, Joe, what would it cost for that?
We're interested. If you
are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do have solutions for it, but you'd have to invite me as more friction.
Yeah.
You have to invite me to show you the solution.
I'm happy to look at any prices that you guys have. Like, I would love to.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to show you the price unless you were actually caring about getting your family healthy. So if you weren't caring about it,
no, we care. We care a lot about that. We just didn't know it was available.
Well, really, because if I showed you the prices and it was affordable, what would happen then?
How much tension does this need?
That's what it is. Well, what it is like, let's get the tension over now, so that later on people can just buy.
Yeah.
I
like that. Because there's going to be a tension.
Otherwise they're going to have tension when they try to buy.
Yeah.
So either sell it now before you give the price.
Yeah.
And then give the price after it's sold. The biggest thing, the Joe Crisera difference. How do you know you've been Joe Crisera'd? Like, the people say that's famous. They go, "You just Joe Crisera'd me. You just Uncle Joe'd me."
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that mean? It means that you got me to commit to something before I even knew what it was.
Yeah.
You know,
I like that. A good job.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love it. Let's do your hot take. Do you got one?
What do you want to know?
What's something that's controversial, and you can feel free to take a second if you need it, to the industry, but that you believe very strongly?
Okay, well, we've been talking a lot about recruiting. That's been a part of the conversation. Frequently, I'll have owners and operators come to our location to see how we recruit. We're really good at it. We have 100 people a week coming through the business. We hire a lot of people. We're just in Utah, we're about 425 employees right now. And they come in and they're like, well, how do we do this? And I'll start asking them a few questions, and I quickly discover that they want to learn how to recruiting, but nobody's really recruiting in the business. You've got a few people that sort of dabble in it, but when it comes to recruiting, having somebody that's specifically in charge of recruiting and wears the hat properly. So often they're not. They want to find answers, but nobody's actually doing it. So just put a hat on whoever should in your business, and at different sizes in your business is going to determine who's going to be wearing that hat.
Yeah.
But just own it. So often people just aren't owning the recruiting process.
We just finally got that person. I'm so happy to have somebody in place at 28. So I guess, I don't know, what is that time? When is that possible for most home service businesses? Like, as far as like how many people are there where that can...
Sometimes it's just the first person. It's the owner.
Yeah.
If you're hiring your first employee, then you're sorry.
Yeah.
To me, if you're a small owner of a one-man company, well, it's like you're like what like people always say.
It was on me. I did take it very seriously while I was doing it, but I was so happy.
The question I always love is, when is the time to hire my first worker in the field or worker in the office? And I always say, dude, if you don't have a worker in the field or in the office, let me whisper something to you. You don't have a business. You're a slave who does everything.
I said that on Facebook the other day, and people were very mad in the comments. So that is a spicy
You're
take.
a slave who
I didn't realize that was
everything.
spicy. I thought that was like an age-old business.
Right? It's not. If you don't have an employee, I said day one. If you look at a person in the office like overhead, then don't hire them. But if you have someone in the office, that should be an engine that helps commerce and captures calls and gives you money to get. They're going to make money, not cost you money. So a lot of times people are like, I don't want to hire somebody because I'm not sure I can keep them busy. Well, a good employee will keep themselves busy and not have to keep you. Not You don't have to keep that. Like, I got to keep them busy.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you know, you have a customer list. They have a phone. Put 2 and 2 together. Make them call the customers and book maintenance calls or whatever, and that keeps them busy or whatever, right? So that would make money, not cost money. It would make money. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into the cold trends. So, what's something people are wasting time, money, and effort on that you don't think that they should be?
That's good. I'll leave that to you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and we can take a second if you
No,
guys
you're
want.
good. We'll wing it here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a little different spin on that. I've heard people are feeling some effects in the economy right now, right? So I hear people come in and talk about the recession, and what I can tell you right now is there is no recession. I go to the airport to travel to these events, and I can't find a parking spot. People are still spending money. They're just not spending it with you. If you're not getting their business, that's your fault. And so what I would say is work harder, pivot a little bit, do what you need to do to make the phone ring. But if you're not capturing that business, I am.
Yeah.
It's there. People are still spending money. But don't use the excuse that, oh, we're in a bit of a recession right now. Choose not to participate.
I just tell people to stop talking to me about it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear about it.
That's kind of my...
I'm growing.
That's kind of my pet peeve. I go to these events and I hear people say, oh, yeah, we're struggling so bad. Well, then go work harder, right? Go put the time in. Go put the effort in. Change your marketing if you're not getting the calls you need. We're still growing, right? It's a choice. You can choose to be careful through what you think is a strange economy, weird economy, recession, whatever you want to call it, or you can choose not to participate and you can double down. We're going to double down. So we encourage you to double down in your business and go for it.
Love it.
I would say, to me, one of the cold takes, here's a good one for me, I think, to discover it. When I hear people say, what are you guys doing to have people call up to follow up on estimates? Like have a rehash person or somebody to call up to follow up on estimates we're given. And I think that is the dumbest position I think has ever been created. I don't know why the hell somebody would pay a full-time person when you already have somebody in the home who should be managing this project and bringing it to a completion. I would say, remember this. There's a yes, we can get the job done now. There's a yes, we can schedule it for later while you think about it. And there's no. You can say no, and the customer can say no. So just get a yes, no, or another appointment. That's all there is to it. There's no other outcome. So before the person leaves the call, the hot trend, if it would be, that the companies that are succeeding are just requiring that the employee, before you leave the home, you got to get a yes and get the job done now, get a yes to schedule it to get done later, or get a yes to schedule it to make a choice later. If you can't get those three, then it's a no. Just tell the customer, we're going to need to withdraw the bid today. Why would we do that? Well, because if you're making me do bad service by not scheduling something, either getting it done now or scheduling a choice or an appointment to get it done, then that's bad service. Because if I leave here today, the prices could increase, and you're going to call me back a year from now, and the prices won't be the same. You're going to think I'm going to hold the price, and I can't. Also, I won't even be on the project. If I come back a year from now, somebody else will have to start over again because it won't even be the same price. And then number three, you're on the front of the line. Like in a place like Any Hour, you're probably in front of 500 people at a place. they're probably every day these guys are doing 350 calls a day or whatever. They're in Utah. So you're in front of 350 people. If we don't schedule the call, you're going to be behind. You call us back when you want to call us back next week. You're going to be behind 350 people when you call us back. So to me, the thing is, yes, no, an appointment. That's what should be done. The people who say I need to get a rehash person or somebody to follow up on these lost opportunities, it's like, dude, why would you lose the opportunity? Because you fumbled the ball. You don't need to hire a special person on your team to pick up fumbles. If your team never fumbled, you wouldn't need somebody to. It's like a football team saying we need a specialist to recover fumbles because we fumble so much. I got an idea. Don't fumble, and you wouldn't need a specialist to pick it up. Make sense, sir? Absolutely.
Okay. I do have a segment called There's Money in the Phones. It's by powersellingpros.com. Check them out. What is one tip that you have on your phone answering systems and or what you advise people to do regarding answering the phones? Would love for you to give a tip on that.
I got one tip, and Brigham Dickinson is a dear friend of mine, so I highly would recommend their service. And definitely support Brigham. Tell Brigham I said this, okay?
Absolutely. I'm sure he'll see this.
He's a good
I
friend.
agree.
He's a good friend.
Great people.
Let me tell you that. Here's my take on the phone. The phone tip of the day is every time you finish talking with a customer on the customer incoming calls, end with a question every time, and you will convert that call 100% of the time. As long as you end whatever you're going to tell people, finish it with a question. How much does it cost to do business at Acme Services? Well, we send a qualified service person out to your house. He comes in a fully stocked truck, and you can get the job done. And the investment for going out there today is only $98. So may I have your address? Would be the question. Get a ballpark price on a new furnace? Actually, we can have an accurate price by somebody coming out there. May I have your phone number?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just keep
I like
asking
that, yeah.
questions, and next thing you know, you got the address, you got the phone number, and it's like, well, Mary, we got everything we need to get out there now. What should we do? Yeah, let's get another question. Let's just get out there then. Exactly, that's what I thought we should do. So it's always, and so a lot of times people say, I lost that customer because, well, here's the thing about it. Write this down, everybody. Statements end the conversation and people hang up. Questions continue the conversation and everybody stays on. Make sense? They stay with your company as long as you're asking a question.
One thing I'll point out when people call into your business, they have a need, and you have a captive audience for a certain amount of time. And so most important first is to book the call, of course, right? But then you have an opportunity. You've got a captive audience that's requesting your service, and you have the ability at a certain time in the call to offer promotions. You hear so many people that'll talk about their shoulder season, the slow season, whatever you want to call it. Well, if you do this properly, you can really take the stress out of your slow season. When a customer calls in and they schedule an appointment, get the call booked, and then say, oh, by the way, Mrs. Smith, have you heard about the promotion we're running right now? This is a promotion that if you schedule it today, we'll get you on the schedule for whenever your your slower season is for March, and you'll schedule your maintenance programs, right? Get people scheduled for a tune-up later on in the season, and if you schedule that today, we'll lock in this promotion price for March. And don't worry about remembering. We'll actually call and remind you ahead of time. It's just like you do when you go to the dentist, right? They schedule your appointment 6 months out. Why aren't we scheduling calls in addition to the reason they called today every single time somebody calls in? I know at NER we'll book an additional 500 calls per month just with these add-on calls. So get the call booked first, and then use the opportunity, since you've got them on the phone, to schedule them for a additional call for some routine service during your slow time. Fill up that slow time. You don't need to struggle that time of year.
Awesome. I love it. And because we're kind of wrapping up this conversation about both recruiting and retaining people, I wanted to just see if you guys have any other tips around retaining your best people. I know that if we don't have anything, we can wrap it up. But otherwise, if you have anything else you wanted to share on that topic, just to round it out.
I think for me, the biggest thing is people need to know that they have opportunity. Once they feel like their path has reached its limits, they're going to go and pursue opportunities somewhere else. So you need to create in your business a path where they can see that they're going to progress and have continuous opportunity, whether it's through training or through the benefits you offer or through advancement, whatever it is. People need to have a path so that they experience a journey in their career.
I feel the same way. I think there has to be an aspirational path to the next level. We have already currently 3 employees in our service MVP company that want to own the company. They want to run the company. They've already told me this. And I said, well, that's great, because I don't want to run the company in the future. That's really, it matches up, that matches up really well. I said, but what it would take is to develop yourself, to invest in yourself, to create the development. I said, no, I think it's a leader's job to retain people. The retention to me means giving people the next activity beyond what the job. So there's a current job, the activity of your job. If you got a salesperson who says, I want to run the sales department someday, it's like, okay, well then I think you need to start taking some leadership classes right now, because it may be a little bit of time before you're ready to, when you take a leadership class, you learn how to lead yourself first, which is the first place you got to start to be a leader of the division. So that you're going to need to work on that first. So here's some training we can provide, or here's some things resources we can give you. We'd like to see you invest the time in yourself to do this. and then show me by your actions that you actually want that path. And if you got people engaged with that, I think that's what people show you by the actions about if they're willing to take the next step to that aspirational path. We can only dream for the employees so much, but they have to take action to execute that dream for themselves. I think the interesting thing is, though, with Any Hour, I've observed what they do and I do what we do. I think you won't find two better companies that will invest in their employees. So if an employee has an aspirational path that they'd like to do for either one of our companies, I know Wyatt Hepworth personally. I know this guy right here, Dustin, and myself. We would provide every last nickel we have to make sure that people have that resource for themselves. So I think the owner's job is to provide the training or resources for it, for people to follow that path. Now, if they show that they're not willing to make that, why would I make an investment if somebody's not willing to take the action to do it? Then if somebody says, well, how much am I going to get paid to take the training? I was like, well, that's an investment in yourself, not an investment we're willing to make there, right? We're willing to pay for the current job you're doing, but for you to get better, to get a better job, you have to invest. Show me you're willing to invest the time. I'm not asking you to invest
It's always
money.
weird when somebody's kind of saying no with their actions.
How much would I get paid to do that?
Yeah.
I want to be managing the company. I say, great. Well, you have to show me that you're willing to invest in the time it takes to become the kind of person that could lead a company. Anybody could lead a company as long as they're willing to invest in themselves and invest the time. But the funny thing is when you actually tell people and the rubber hits the road, well, tell me, when are you willing to start taking training on this to begin your journey? I'll get back to you on that. Right now, I got some other things that got in the fire that I'm kind of busy with at night. I don't got time. Oh yeah, because this is the normal day when you're working for us. That we need the production during that for that. What we're paying for you now, right? For you to become a leader, there's going to be additional work to get to that point, to get that. And the funny thing is, I think everybody who has become a leader at Any Hour or even at Service MVP, those are the people who wind up being like this guy, right? Who goes on the road representing Any Hour. Because he's not a clock watcher. He doesn't work on the clock. His personal time and his work time are kind of together because his work family and his real family, he loves both of them. You know what I'm saying? He has a love for both of them, and he doesn't feel like work as a drag. He feels like work is a passion, and his family's a passion too, right? And I think that the funny thing is when you get a passion all the time for your family or for your people in your company, it's like days go by like a snap the finger, right? It's like oh my God, it's already 10 o'clock at night. I can't believe we had so much fun as a family, fun as a company, and I think that's the part of it. Though I think the people who can be leaders, they just enjoy people, enjoy seeing people develop, your own family develop, because that's part of you're leading your family, leading your company. I think it's the same thing, right?
Absolutely. Could I give you guys an opportunity just to share like a call to action and your website and whatever call to action you might have for
Sure.
our audience?
You want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. Well, if you go to servicemvp.com, you can take any kind. We have a free courses you can take. I recommend everybody download our app, and you get free training. Everybody will get the Service MVP app and an account on servicemvp.com, and you have real live classes. I would recommend you take our Pure Motive Basic Training course, which is just the basics of what we teach, and just see if that applies to you. The average person who takes that course is capable of raising their revenue and results by 78% immediately, just with the free course. And then if you like it, then of course we have other courses you can invest in down the road. But
awesome.
I like to see people become successful first with what we do before we ask for any investment. That's what we're trying to do.
I love it, and it might be why you have such an amazing reputation.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So many people commenting how valuable everything you do is, and so I just
Those are
had to chat with you.
Kind words. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So many other people's kind words as well.
ServiceMVP.com.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So I had to think for a second, so you had to go first.
Yeah.
Call to action, invest in yourself. Joe said it very well. Be willing to spend the time and energy to improve yourself. Your greatest successes in life came from having to get a little bit uncomfortable. You think about your date to the prom and asking that other person to go with you, right? Mm-hmm. That required getting a little bit uncomfortable. In your career, the first sales call you ever run, that requires getting uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You want to be in a leadership position, that requires getting uncomfortable. So being willing to do what it takes to invest in yourself. We're out here at this event. This is the the Home Service Freedom event here with Tommy Mello and his whole team. They're a fantastic event. We're investing in ourselves today. Go and see other locations. You're invited to come to any of our locations. In fact, call me directly if you'd like, text me, whatever. I'm going to give my phone number out here. That's a little weird, right? 801-787-3546. Personal invitation to come see any of our locations. We got 28 locations around the United States. And we'd be happy to have you come out. We'll show you around and show you how we operate. Our location in Utah has grown from when I started there a little over 12 years ago. We were about $2 million in revenue. And at that same location, with all the same leadership team, I talked about leadership, we haven't lost a leader or manager in our business in over 14 years.
Incredible.
And so it's the same team that built it from 2 million to over 100 million organically in Utah.
Amazing.
Come see how we did it. We'd love to share the secrets that helped us build this business.
And what's your .com? Just so people, if they want to go to the .com.
Yeah, just anyhourservices.com.
Anyhourservices.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate you guys being on. Thank you for taking the time.
Tim, I appreciate you.
It's a plumbing
Absolutely.
HVAC hustle. I might have to change the name because there's another HVAC hustle out there. Who knows? Hey, you said you were going to name this for me. What's the new name? It doesn't matter. It's creating relationships. It's creating relationships.
On the hook.
On the hook. Done. That's it now, guys. It's a new podcast name. But thank you guys for joining me. And please like, subscribe, comment, and leave a review. Do all the things. Thank you.